Welcome to our web exclusive. I'm Mike Montecalvo, along with Eyewitness News analyst Lieutenant General Reginald Centracchio. We will get to Syria and the situation that's going on there. Some comments on Wednesday from Secretary of State John Kerry. But first, there was a wild weather week, severe weather, General, across southern New England this week. We had two storms doing some damage. We saw the stories on Eyewitness News, especially in Cranston at Dean Estates. You spoke to the EMA today. Were they properly prepared for this event?
Yes. In fact, they were very impressed with the kind of cooperation and sharing of information between Rhode Island and Massachusetts. As you know, that storm came through the southern part of Rhode Island into Massachusetts, and therefore you had to do a lot of information sharing. And obviously the forecasting had a huge impact on exactly where the storm was going to go and the preparedness and where resources should be going. And what they told me today was that they saw an unfolding of a plan. This doesn't normally happen, but the plan was executed exactly the way it was intended. The only one area that needs some cleaning up was the bit about having to do with the evacuees. Where did they go? People without families, perhaps, and other considerations.
Well, I know the Red Cross and some churches have helped out in that. That seems to be a continuing problem, though.
It is, and it's something that really can be done for every complex that you have a lot of people living in. But the whole deal is that has to be part of that facility's plan as to what do you do with someone who doesn't have family or someplace to go. So I think that would be the only fine-tuning that needs to be done in this particular case.
You know, General, even listening to the mayor of Cranston, Alan Fung, he's talking about they're working on the problem. These areas seem to be the same ones that are getting hit all the time. We know the players: Fletcher Avenue in Cranston, Oak Lawn under where you're going towards Wilbur Avenue, and many other spots. When do those areas get fixed?
They won't get fixed until you have a composite plan for funding and a revenue source between the federal government, the state, and the town or the city. There are fixes to it, such as perhaps dredging the Patuxent River, looking at different ways to have that water be able to go elsewhere rather than into a populated area. So plans are available. The key to it is who's going to fund it. And I think perhaps several years down the road, you may see some of it taken care of, such as some of the houses were recently bought by the city. Those will never be occupied again. So you can have as much water as you want. That's one way to solve it. The other way is to make sure that we have an ability for that water to go elsewhere.
All right, General, let's switch gears right now and talk about the conflict in Syria. President Obama continues to build some support for military action. On Wednesday, we're hearing Secretary of State John Kerry say the risk of not responding with force to last month's chemical attacks is greater than the risk of acting. Have they backed themselves up against the wall right now, the administration, of what to do here?
I am convinced, as I said this the last several times we talked about this, the president did not make an adequate and timely decision. The more time that went by, the more considerations and consequences would be on his plate to deal with. Now, if you look at it from the other point of view, had we gone in there exactly on time when he made that comment about the red line, we probably would have not had to deal with some of the things such as the replacement or positioning of launcher sites within the populated areas. You perhaps would not have to deal with where you put those munitions where we knew they were at that particular time. They're spread out now, so you have other consequences. So I think no matter what you did, time was, I think, the biggest fault as far as this administration.
All right, what happens if we don't do anything?
If we don't do anything, then what you do is embolden. You know, one thing that has not been clearly articulated well is who actually launched those missiles. Was it in fact the Assad regime, or was it in fact the rebels? They really haven't made that decision yet. They haven't. They say they have high confidence. They have not had confirmation, and that's the big difference. So if you do something too early or too late, you're still not sure as to who you're helping.
We only have about 30 seconds, General. What about Turkey and the role they're playing here? They're right there on the border.
They are, and I think they recognize if they don't come up with some kind of a plan to help it, they'll be the next target from the Assad regime and perhaps other rogue nations in that area, specifically Iran, if they develop a nuclear capability.
All right, General Centracchio, thank you for your thoughts, and thanks for watching.